This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey y'all, what's up and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I take your hot takes and react to them. It's my chance to go through the comment section and interact with the takes that I might agree with. Sometimes y'all drop some takes in there I disagree with and we have a conversation about it. But that's the premise of the video. Let's get into it. First video we're going to talk about the comments from is my rewatch of the week 12 game, Browns versus the Denver Broncos. Weirdest game of the season. And in this video, there was a comment here that I want to highlight. And this comment was from Connor9535. I disagree with Greg Newsom recovery speed accusation. Wasn't an accusation. I'm just bringing up his combine numbers. He's able to get beat and work his way back to the receiver to make a breakup. He did it against a rookie, Jamar Chase. Although it's one play, I think, in a route by Cortland, he made a mental error. I saw something on film and thought on formation result in a different play. His feet were stopped. Like he thought Cortland was running a curl. Appreciate the vids. This happened twice, though, in the same game. So I don't think it was a mental error. They kept running those digs on him. And if you look at Greg Newsom's tape, I mean, whenever teams get the situation where they can put an explosive athlete on Greg Newsom, they love to break away from Greg Newsom and take advantage of the fact that he does not have that much explosion. It's just a flaw in Greg Newsom's game, and it's something that you can see when you look at his combine numbers. Things that Greg Newsom did not test well in at the combine are the things that measure quickness and explosion, right? 20-yard shuttle, 3-cone drill, and I believe broad jump he didn't do well in either. Those are all explosions or short area twist turn kind of like drills where they're measuring short area quickness and explosion. And he just isn't great at that. I don't think this is an accusation of Greg Newsom. This is just the reality of the kind of athlete that Greg Newsom is. And it's also the reality for a lot of the Browns corners. The Browns don't have a ton of quick twitch, super reactive corners. The only guy they have like that is Denzel Ward. What they do have is a bunch of athletes who can run vertically downfield. Like Martin Emerson is great at that, and he's super tall and physical, so he makes up for his lack of quickness, his lack of fluid hips, by being big and strong, right? And Greg doesn't have stiff hips, but he's just not explosive coming out of his breaks. Like, it's just one thing that's true with Greg. And the fact that we have to go back to defend this about Greg, one play that he had against a rookie Jamar Chase kind of tells you that this is a problem, because you can bring up one play where Greg did not have an issue. And I'm pretty sure Greg has made some good reads or broke on a play early and has beaten some of these routes. He wouldn't be a professional corner if he wasn't capable of doing that. But this is a weakness of Greg, right? And you can put up a cut up of teams being able to use this against Greg, because this is just one area where Greg struggles. You look at the plays where Greg struggles the most, it's usually stuff that breaks in or breaks away from him, right? He's not the greatest at opening up his hips and exploding. I don't think this is a slight. Well, this is a slight, but this is a criticism of Greg Newsom that's rooted in truth. That's why the Browns have the three corners that they have, because when you have those three, you can avoid putting those guys in situations. Or that's why you play Grant Delpit and Rodney McLeod a lot, so you can have it be, so hey, Greg, if this breaks away from you, it's just not your responsibility anymore. And you can worry about your zone and being the athlete that you are, right? Just take deep left or something like that. That's why they have these coverage rules in place to kind of just make sure that Greg's weaknesses, or make sure any corner's weaknesses, aren't going to be glorified. And I think that's just something that you pick up on more in year 2 than in year 1 of a defensive system. The second comments are from AFC North's largest threats to Cleveland. Ricky says, nice to have Vrabel facing Henry. If anybody knows how to slow him down, it would be Vrabel. Cincy, an interesting predicament they are in. Does have T, has a wide receiver 1A type year. Does this situation cause more drama and uncertainty? Pitt, no telling. Russ could win them a game and lose them 3. It's going to be a fun year in the North. I don't think there's going to be much controversy with T. Higgins. He's gone after this year. Like, that's not controversial. It's probably just what they know to be true. Unless they want to do a franchise tag the second year, very few teams want to go through that because there's more than just the physical or the financial cost to a franchise tag, right? A franchise tag is annoying for GMs. It's annoying for agents. It's annoying for players. Nobody wants to deal with the franchise tag. If you want to know why, like, go watch the Hard Knocks that's about the front office members that's airing on Max right now, and you'll see the toll that the franchise tag takes on everybody involved. Nobody loves the franchise tag, but for this year, it works out for T. Higgins, but that's just going to be what it is, right? They can't keep him and Jamar Chase, or they're not willing to keep him and Jamar Chase. They're going to keep Jamar Chase. They already drafted Jermaine Burton, and they're going to move on, right? It's obvious. They got Cevis. They went wide receiver heavy the last 2 years. It's obvious to me that the Bengals have identified wide receiver as a position where they can cost cut a little bit. Keep Jamar Chase, keep Joe Burrow, obviously, but change around the pieces around that, and I think that's just going to be the case for the Bengals this upcoming year. The next comment, no more sleeping on Henry. Now that's got to be a different offense blocking. I could be wrong, hopefully, but who knows? A lot of the assumptions we're making about Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens, I feel like have to do more about the brand of Derrick Henry and the brand of the Baltimore Ravens, not really the reality of both of those situations. If you look at Derrick Henry's numbers, they weren't bad last year. He was you could say he's the third leading rusher. He had like 1,200 yards. It's not bad. But like, they're not amazing numbers. They're not numbers that were like Derrick Henry in his prime. Now, you can blame that on the offensive line. The Titans had a trash offensive line. But it's not like the Baltimore Ravens offensive line is that much better than the Tennessee Titans. They lost 3 starters. They're replacing those 3 starters with Roger Rosengard, a second-round pick that I loved coming out of college. But again, it's a second-round pick rookie coming out of college who I thought needed to add strength on his frame before he could be effective in the pros. I thought he would have to sit for a year in order to be a replacement for somebody on the left or right side. So that's who's starting at right tackle. That will eventually pay off for them, but I don't know if it pays off this year. Andrew Voorhees, who was a 7th-round pick, and not John Simpson, in Cleveland, 4th-round pick. They got Linderbaum. Ronnie Stanley is not the Ronnie Stanley of old, and he's taking snaps in and out with Falele, and Falele's not good. It's not the greatest offensive line. Again, the brand of the Baltimore Ravens and the brand of Derrick Henry are doing a lot of work in how we perceive them. Because we think of Derrick Henry and we think of 2018, 2019 Derrick Henry. We think of the Baltimore Ravens and we think of 2019 Baltimore offensive line, but not the 2024 one. It's not really in line with the classic Raven brand. And I'm not sleeping on Derrick Henry. I don't think he's going to have the impact that some people are saying. Like, they think he's going to get like a rushing title and rejuvenate his career in Baltimore. We'll see, man, but I don't know. Having an honest and rational conversation about Deshaun Watson, always a fun thing to attempt on the internet. Chamrod says, sorry to say, but rational and honest don't mix well in this world with the word fanatic. There are plenty who frequent the comment section that will fail to have any kind of honest and rational conversation about. Yes, you will have those people who, whenever they think they hear Deshaun Watson, get in there, copy and paste their argument from Reddit about Deshaun Watson stinking, and not care what you have to say, not entertain what you have to say. But I don't do my videos for those people. I do these videos for everybody else in the audience, the people in the comment section who might not agree with me, but they're open to having a conversation about where they're at and where I'm at with the quarterback position. Or, the bulk of people don't even leave a comment that watch these videos. There's like 100 or 200 comments on every video left by probably 100 people. and thousands of people watch these videos. So that's who I spend a lot of the time talking to, whether I realize it or not, because I'm not really interacting with those people as much as I have to interact with the people who comment. But that's one thing I always try to keep in mind. I do think that there's a lot of people. I think most Browns fans, like whenever I run into a Browns fan in regular life, you know, or honestly, most of the conversations that I have when people just want to talk Browns with me, even online, are pretty rational conversations about Deshaun Watson. I don't think Browns fans are incapable of doing that simply because they are fans. I think most Browns fans are pretty reasonable. And I want to be careful, and I think everybody should be careful about letting a few people paint a picture of a larger group of folk, right? And that's what I try to do. I try to keep that in mind, because it can be easy to let that cloud you and make you think that the comment section reflects everybody who watches, but it doesn't. You know, it reflects the people who comment. And I enjoy those people. I appreciate those people. But also, you know, you got to make sure you keep in mind that most of your interactions talking football with people aren't what you get on Twitter, aren't what you get online. Most people are rational and open to being fair about their team. It's honestly more shocking when you run into somebody in real life that's being a complete asshole about their team. You know, so I disagree with that. I think Browns fans and any football fan, they're football fans first, and they're able to have rational and honest conversations about football. And I think that's the case for most people who watch videos about football or just fans of football. You know, it's been my experience literally my whole life. But appreciate the comment, Chamrod. Mike says, hey, Q, as technically challenged 62-year-old, I'm trying to send my first comment to social media. Our biggest concern is not Watson's injury history, but his mental history. I feel that will affect his ability. Hopefully he mentally wipes his feet and moves on and returns to the player and person he has the capability of being. This is always a tough subject to broach because of the reason Deshaun Watson is going through so much mentally. It's not really the most sympathetic thing in the world. So it's hard to broach this subject, but I do think that's one of the things that the Cleveland Browns underestimated greatly when they made this trade for Deshaun Watson. I think they underestimated what it was going to take. Like, I knew they looked at it and they said, hey, he didn't have any physical injuries. And he does not have any physical injuries up until 2023. But mentally, that's the equivalent of tearing your Achilles, right? What Deshaun Watson is going through. And again, I'm not trying to be sympathetic for why Deshaun Watson went through what he went through, but I would imagine if one day I woke up and I had this reputation of being, super related to my religion and seen as a pretty aspirational and positive figure and family friendly figure. And then the next thing I'm waking up and I'm associated with all of the things that Deshaun Watson is now associated with, that would take a toll mentally. Again, not saying poor boo-hoo Deshaun Watson. Let me be very clear on that. I'm just saying this is a thing that happened for him. And that toll that it takes on you mentally is the equivalent of tearing something on your physical body. And I don't think the Browns understood that when they traded for Deshaun. Well, I thought they thought he would just bounce back and wipe this off. But no, this is a massive change in how the world perceives him. Like, that's going to take years to bounce back from. And I think that's a good point that you bring up, that mentally, that's been the biggest challenge for Deshaun Watson, is getting back mentally, because when the Browns traded for him, like, there's no way he was anywhere near a good place. And he has to figure out a way to get back to a place to where all of these things don't bother him, right? Like, this has been something that we've heard about since he's been in Cleveland. You know, I've had Cam on the show and she's talked about how when things would drop in the Deshaun Watson cases, he would go from looking good in practice to not looking good in practice. These things took a toll on him. I bet it affected him greatly. He does have to work back from it. And that's similar to an injury. But since that injury is not physical, it's hard for a lot of us to understand that that's what's going on. But like anybody, you tear your ACL, you're getting paid $230 million. We're going to expect you to repair that ACL and get back on that field, buddy, and play well. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. It's tough. You went through that. A lot of people think it's your own fault, you know? So there's not a lot of sympathy there for you. But you get paid $230 million over 5 years, buddy. You better get healthy and get on that field and start balling. And that's what the situation is for Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, I think the mental aspect of this is greatly undersold. And I think that's what the Browns overlooked when they made the trade, because I think they thought that Deshaun Watson would be close to himself by the end of 2022. I really do. Now, thinking back, I don't think that was ever a reality. He had way too much to overcome mentally before he could be anywhere close to himself. And it's year 3, and it just feels like now he's getting somewhere close to feeling like himself again. So, you know, I think the Browns overlooked that. I think a lot of teams overlook that aspect of it. Mental health is as important as physical health, and I don't think teams take that seriously. And this is a huge reminder for the Browns to probably take that a little bit more seriously than they did with the Watson trade. But yeah, it's a great point, Mike. It's a great point. You know, I've been trying to write a video about that. Like, I'm going to let you guys in behind the curtain. I've been trying to write a video about that aspect of Deshaun Watson for like months. And I don't know how to approach it because I want to be very careful with how I approach it, because I'm not trying to be sympathetic. I'm just trying to talk about the mental health aspect of what that player is going to. But, you know, you want to be sensitive to why that is the case and the other people affected in that situation. And it's just a tough thing to write. So, yeah, I've been thinking about that for a long time, and I appreciate you for bringing that up, because that is something that's pretty important to talk about when it comes to Deshaun Watson and why he may or may not be able to live up to that contract. Again, not an excuse for him, obviously, but when you want to dissect or do a post-mortem on it, that's going to be something that comes up if this does not work out. The Steelers are the Steelers. It's a video I did talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers being like a Fort Taurus. My guy CTG Cement said, honestly, Q might be on the longest daily streak of anyone on YouTube. Consistency is unparalleled. 1 or 2 videos per day. Keep us entertained during the offseason. W. Appreciate that, CTG. It's just nice to see that work be appreciated, you know, that you guys are enjoying the stuff. I try to make sure that not only am I consistent with the volume, but consistent with the quality of the videos. You know, every day I think about how I can make these videos better, what I can add to these videos, what I can add to my arsenal. And it's just nice to be appreciated. So appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. The Ravens are the Ravens. All right, this comment is from JG Joy. I do not disagree with Baltimore pushing in the chips to win, but they didn't last year. And I remember clearly you stating they would not even make the playoffs. See, this is something that people do in my comment section a lot, and it baffles me because people just make up shit that I said. I never thought that Baltimore was a bad team last year. You can't find a clip of me saying Baltimore stinks. I thought Baltimore was a playoff team. He goes on, or they go on to say the same as everybody. Like, nobody thought Baltimore would make the playoffs. What are you talking about? Everybody thought Baltimore was at least a playoff contender last year. I did like multiple videos on Engraven's channel talking about Baltimore has the potential to be a Super Bowl contender. It's just them and the Browns are pretty volatile teams. Like, they could be one of the best teams in the AFC. They could be one of the like most disappointing teams in the AFC. So I don't like how my words are being twisted in this comment. And this just goes to show when people be making shit up that I be saying like every week, and they think I don't remember what I say in these videos, but I do. Like, I believe the things I say, so I remember what I say in these videos. And it's just interesting to me, like, either this person missed the point and interpreted what I said in a wrong way, or this person's just saying shit that they know is not true just so they can win an argument, or they're confusing me with somebody else. But I never said Baltimore was not going to make the playoffs. What are you talking about, dog? What do you mean? And also, this whole point about Baltimore didn't push the chips in last year. What you mean? They signed Odell Beckham to a $15 million contract to play wide receiver for 1 year. What do you think that's about? Like, look at the moves. Look at the amount of moves that Baltimore did last year. The amount of free agency activity that they had last year. And look at the free agency activity this year and tell me that that's a team that's moving at the same sense of urgency. I'm not the only one that said this. I've talked to people in Baltimore that think this too. I'm not tripping on that. And they thought they were going all in last year. They were. They aren't going all in this year. It's obvious. But you don't got to make up stuff that I said to prove that point, or twist things that I say to prove that point. Again, I make these videos. I know what I said. Don't do that. Next video comes from NFL GM's vote MYLES over TJ Watt. I bet the comments were just super peaceful about this. The Mashugan says Myles Garrett, TJ Watt is great, but no one literally talks about how he works on the right side of the line. He never sees the top left tackles in the league, while Myles Garrett sees them on a regular basis and is double, triple team more than any player in the NFL. I would love to know how much that matters, that TJ only plays the right side. I don't know if it matters as much because the quality of right tackle play has gone up so much in the last 10 years. But yeah, I would wonder, like, if we just did, like, as a rough guess, what the average PFF grade is of the players that he's most aligned with during the season and compared it to what Myles does, if that's going to be any different. I would love to prove that narrative right or wrong in some way, because I don't know if it's true that it matters that TJ is on the right side. It feels like conventional wisdom, but that conventional wisdom has a chance of being outdated because the league has changed. So I don't know if that's a slight on TJ that I would run with. I would need to do that research in order to lean one way or the other. But the one criticism with TJ is that he doesn't get double teamed at the same rate that Myles Garrett does. And I think that's for reasons that become obvious. They see Myles Garrett as a bigger threat than TJ Watt. And that's no disrespect to TJ. I've said it here multiple times. I think TJ's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So is Myles Garrett. But Myles is the better player. That's just it. Like, it just is what it is. It ain't that big of a slight. They're both Hall of Famers. I don't know why Steeler fans get so worked up about this, because, like, Browns fans don't have the same level of animosity for this conversation over TJ Watt. Like, when TJ Watt won Defensive Player of the Year, there were some Browns fans that were upset about it, but it wasn't like how Steeler fans are acting about this right now. It's just weird. It is weird how people are reacting to this whole thing. Frank says the impressive 70% number over Watt, the Bosa boys, Allen and Mack, just to name a few. Myles is a force, no doubt. Yeah, like, it's a generational class of edge rushers that exist right now in the NFL. And for Myles Garrett to be getting 70% of the first place votes in this, like, there's so many first ballot Hall of Famers playing football right now at edge. And for Myles Garrett to be 70% of everybody's choice, I mean, that's just shows you how special front offices think that guy is. AK Ray says You can argue Myles is the better rusher than TJ, but you are out of your damn mind if you think he's a better overall defensive player than TJ Watt. Watt is just too versatile. He can not only create sacks, he can stop the run, but also bat passes and catch insane interceptions. Sounds like the back of a video game. Also, he's very clutch. He makes timely plays to get his team out of trouble. If you don't want to watch the stats, at least watch the film. Famously, I never watch film on this channel. There is no video of me watching all 22 film multiple times over on this channel. I don't do that at all, y'all. There's no evidence that I watch film. There's no evidence of that on this channel. You won't find it, right? If you search my name and all 22, you ain't gonna find no film on here, right? Dog, come on, man. This is a crock of shit. And this is just cope, right? Like, this is the ultimate we moving the goalpost, right? Oh, it used to be Myles can't get the sack numbers that TJ gets, but when people start paying that argument less attention and Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year, now it's, well, he's a better pass rusher than TJ Watt, but he's not the better overall defender. Yes, he is. Myles Garrett is as good, if not better, of a run defender than TJ Watt is currently, right? Like, TJ Watt was a pretty damn good run defender in like 2019, 2020, but he has not been that level of a run defender in a couple of years now, which is fine, but he's still very good. Myles is very good. They're both really versatile, right? People talk about TJ Watt in pass coverage like he is a slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When I tell you TJ Watt only gets 50 coverage snaps a season, that would shock you. Myles gets like 25 coverage snaps a season. We're talking about TJ Watt being more versatile because he drops back in coverage 25 more times than Myles Garrett in a 17-game season. Really? Really? And catching insane interceptions? Myles Garrett jumped over two human beings to block a field goal. You don't think that's versatile? Come on, at what point do you not feel ridiculous about what you're saying here? And again, you ain't gotta act like this. We all think TJ Watt is a first ballot Hall of Famer. We just think Myles Garrett is better. There's no reason for this conversation to be this salty. But yet it is, because y'all some salty dogs over there. That's it for Hot Takes. Make sure that you watch your salt intake if you are somebody in danger of being salty. For all my non-salty people or non-ashy people, appreciate y'all for coming. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.